Greetings, lords and ladies. Welcome back to another edition of the Surfing Violinist podcast. Joined by Judah this morning. So how you doing on this blustery Chicago day?
It's actually pretty nice. Not nice, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad down here either. Restream chat just logged me out, so... Oh, a new version of Restream chat is available. You have... we'll do that later. I gotta re-log into this crap. So yeah, you know, how's the Chicago? How's the Illinois life?
The Illinois life, it's okay. I gotta figure out how to make money. It's hard. It's hard living in the Chicago life. You know, like the Illinois, just the daily tax. You know.
Yeah, it's true. The cost of living is
it's high.
It's high.
So trying to figure things out. There's a possibility we may move to North Carolina.
Oh, okay. Hey,
In June. Yeah.
That'd be closer to here.
Yeah.
Theoretically. We could,
Well, I was trying to talk my wife into letting us move to Florida. My sister's gonna be.
That's right.
But we'll see. Might just stay here.
All right, Jamie. Why don't you fix that, please?
Yes, sir. I'm doing it right now, sir.
You know, my favorite, like, for the diehards, your mouse on my face. That's my favorite.
Oh, it is. Is it on there right now?
No, it's not. But
Okay, I'll make sure I can get that for you.
Sometimes I like just like seeing if I can look at it, you know, and yeah.
It's weird. It's not like showing up now. I got it right on you too. It's unfortunate. Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh, I got it.
Is it?
It's right on your nose. So this week, somehow or another, I can't remember. I think it was his wife, Jordan Tommy. I stumbled upon a picture she'd taken.
Nicole?
Yeah, on Facebook. It was a selfie of them. I was like, oh wow, is Jordan on Facebook? And so I messaged, I friended him, and he messaged me, how are things going? So we caught up, and he shared this song, Toy Truck by Locust Years. I'd forgotten their name. I was like, dude, I could not remember your band's name. So he shared the song with me.
I love that song.
I was reminiscing. I was like, oh man, I forgot. I actually did have a soft spot for emo back then.
Is it emo?
Well, it's like progressive emo, I guess. You know, it's like it kind of went in its own direction. That's what I like when I listened to what the kids were listening to around that time. I was like, I actually like this better. So what Jordan and them did.
My favorite was Toy Truck.
Yeah, that was it.
I mean, Radio Fly.
Oh, that's right. I remember you singing.
You're the Radio Fly.
Yeah, you would be walking through the dorms and we'd hear you screaming that at the time. Judah always supporting his friends. But yeah, that was good. It was good music, good memories. I was like, oh, wow. I played it for my daughter.
Yeah,
and she was like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, it wouldn't be my first choice. Thanks a lot. Jeez, kids these days are just critical, man. Just enjoy the music, man. Oh, man. So...
What does your daughter listen to, by the way? What is the cool thing right now?
I don't know, man. I think she listens to this weird, like, ambient stuff. It's like, it's not vaporwave, but it's like something like that. It's just like this jazz. It's like smooth jazz EDM.
Mm-hmm.
It's so boring. I don't know why you listen to this. Why don't you? I mean, post Skrillex. Why would you listen to anything else other than like knock your teeth out bro step? I don't understand all this stuff. I'm like, just let's get to this symphonic bombast.
You know what? Some of my clients, some of the guys, high school guys I work with, listen. One of them in particular, he listens to 1980s mall music.
No, I know. Yeah, that's the thing. It's this whole genre, this vaporwave / like makes you think you're in, like the way Jack from Perfume Nationalist described it. It's like it makes you think you're sitting in a dentist waiting room or something like that. Or like in the late 80s, early 90s. Yeah, that whole aesthetic is like a thing.
So instead of aesthetic, I think now it's called
Mood.
no. What do you call it? Like when you harken back to older reminiscent time,
Nostalgia?
nostalgia.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I don't I don't think that's the only time that term's been used.
No, but I mean like they call it nostalgia, like
Yeah, no, you're
nostalgia.
right. Yes, it's nostalgia. And so but
No.
which hers is like that mixed with it's like the feel of that. You know, the
Mm,
almost all the songs they have like I don't know, like a playlist on. I'm not sure if it's on Pandora or on SoundCloud or whatever, but it's like the H3H3 intro song. So many of them sound like that. They're like this little
mm,
chip tune thing that's like all
yeah.
peppy and
Hmm.
it's okay, I guess.
Oh, and I guess did she listen to Billie Eilish?
Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish?
Oh,
No,
Ellish. Yeah, yeah.
Eilish.
I don't know. I don't know if that's her thing. So the guys were sharing it on, my corner, our corner of Twitter this week, how much they
Oh,
like her voice. Um, what is wrong? There's something.
I heard a little, but everything's cool now.
Initialize. I guess it's working.
Hmm?
But yeah, it's just not my thing. I'm pretty sure Sati could sing exactly like Billie Eilish if she wanted to. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I,
Dilkush says, "Screw EDM, react to Punjabi Bhangra rap music videos."
boom.
Have you ever seen any of those, Judah?
Punjabi, Bhangra,
Bhangra,
rap,
yeah. So
no.
it's like it takes that Punjabi beat, and it's real distinctive. And then they got these, there's a whole crew of different rappers, and they rap over it. So
I gotta try that out.
it actually fits pretty well. I feel like Punjabi with that. I mean, it's their own beat dance sort of style.
Hmm.
Yeah, it fits hand in glove pretty well. I'd say with the whole rap. I don't know. I'm just over rap almost totally. Except that one Russian rap song. You know the one that I've shared that one with you, right? The guys sitting around the table and they're like doing a toast, and they start doing this diss. It's like a 8 minute, 10 minute long diss track making fun of Russia's version of Simon Cowell, like he's a reality show
Ah.
music producer or something like that. And so
Hmm.
all of them just take turns. Each one gets 2 or 3 verses, and they just go around passing the mic, making fun of this guy.
Nice.
It's fun. Well, there's no one here. I don't know if there's something wrong with my setup. Rasputin is the original Russian rap song. I don't know about that. Oh, cool.
Rasputin.
Rasputin rap. Rasputin. Are you talking about that? Vladimir Putin. There's one called Vladimir Rasputin. Vladimir Putin, love the way you move.
Hmm.
There's the epic rap battles. What exactly are you referring to?
Oh yeah, there's
1978 Euro disc hit single by the Germany-based pop and Euro.
Rasputin versus like there is a epic rap battles with Rasputin.
Boney M. Oh yeah,
Oh,
Boney M. Rasputin. I don't know.
Boney M. Boney M. Rasputin, huh? Is it good?
I don't know. I don't know anything about any of it. All right. Well, I guess we'll jump into this week's essay. Got 3 whole viewers across all our diverse platforms. People just they saw my white T-shirt and they're like, "This guy's didn't come prepared."
Not today, Satan.
Not today, Satan. I played poker on Thursday night with some of my buddies. Hadn't seen them in months. The guys I work with on the dock. Well, some of them. And Justin said that he actually recognizes you now. He's like, "Yeah, I like seeing you and your friend on there. I feel like I know him now." I was like, "You actually watch us on a Saturday morning?" He's like, "Well, a minute or two."
Man, what a it's like hardly Saturday morning cartoons.
All
Like
right,
who would wake up and I guess I would
me.
wake up and hang.
That's who, me. All right, I'm sharing the essay for the week. This one is all over the place. This is how my dreams work. So you get a peer, and we're covering ground that I've already covered a bit. Tons of mixed metaphors here and all kinds of crap. Facebook is not loading. Here, I'll throw it in the Facebook as well, and we'll do this. And then Judas got some shirts referencing some of the you had to be there memes that only a true reverse redaction or surfing violinist insider would understand.
True that.
Now my
What happened?
Facebook is slugging.
You're doing
Man, something's
fine
wrong.
on YouTube's.
Looks okay.
Yes.
It's weird, man. Facebook is like not loading. Could you throw the? Okay, wait, hold here. Here it is. I'm throwing it in. Okay. So today's essay is called Spirit and Soul, Serendipity and Will. One of the quotes that I use in the little intro thing that if you listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or on SoundCloud is from Anton Chigurh, and it says, "If the rule you followed brought you to this, of what use was the rule?" My life fell apart My life fell apart between 4 and 5 years ago. The plans I had made for a career and a future for my family were revealed to be naive, irresponsible, and ineffective. Since then, I've been trying to figure out how to reorient. The rules I followed led me to a programmed response. I had fancied myself an autonomous human being, but I looked back at my life and I saw a predictable stooge who got what he deserved. The rule I followed and the promises it claimed to have for me did not correspond to reality. Since then, I've been drifting along, as a friend of mine, Caleb, who also was my boss during part of this period, says. It sometimes feels like we're in a river just trying to keep our heads above water and don't have time to figure out how we got here. We're just treading water, trying to keep breathing. While drifting, I've thrashed frantically to find someone with a rule that makes sense. Not just a rule, but a ruler, as in the measuring device. I used this measurement to get where I am, and it worked out okay. Check out my rule, or baby steps, or 12 rules for life, as it were. But invariably, I would hit the point where the person themselves did something that either contradicted their professed rule, or did or said something so contrary to me personally that I started questioning their entire premise. It's not that they're bad people. It's just that I know that that one thing they say is a non-negotiable for me. It's never going to happen for me, and I'm not doing it. I don't want to be anyone else. I want to be me. But how do you deal with the crisis of the commons? If everyone does what they want, won't there be chaos and anarchy? And I found myself falling into crisis after crisis, chaos and anarchy because of a condition that experts would probably diagnose as oppositional defiance disorder. I don't like being told what to do. I'm insufferable. It's ruined more than one job and made many relationships difficult. Lately, I've been having these weird fractalish dreams, usually right in the morning before I wake up. On one occasion, I think I discussed this on one of our episodes, during a very stressful state, I witnessed crab claws replicating in a fractal fashion, which woke me up and had me Liu King kick our TV off the table at the foot of the bed. When I was working in construction, I was seeing PVC pipes rearranging in unpredictable transdimensional formations that defied my perspective. The night before writing this, I had one in which I saw an object drifting along a flowchart-like structure. You could imagine just like piping, almost, like plumbing. And there's this little object in there, and it gets to a joint, a point where the flowchart would break. But started doing some unpredictable things. An unpredictable, self-propagating, spontaneously ordered fractal branching, and not just two-dimensional movement, but the implication of a third-dimensional branching. That maybe the entity that's drifting through this flowchart could inhabit more than one option or branch simultaneously. In the Christian New Testament, Jesus talks about how the Holy Spirit is like a wind blowing where that entity wishes. In the Jewish scriptures and the Proverbs, wisdom is personified as a woman, and she beckons the naive to resist the allure of high time preference, aka a prostitute. I'm convinced that our way forward is a dance with the Holy Spirit, wisdom personified, an unpredictable spirit that defies dimensional restriction but isn't in a hurry. A rule, a mission statement, a company policy, a catechism, a list of commands, a law book are too predictable to outsmart what's coming, and God help us, he's coming. It's already here. Close, close. Leviathan is but an extension of your harmless vice. But you don't beat evil with brute force. You learn to use that momentum to catapult into an unexpected dodge that results in the enemy delivering the full force of his killing blow on his own head. Spiritual jujitsu. I've been struggling to articulate how to get my soul, my will, my autonomy to lead. But in a failed system, choice will not get you out because your will is compromised. You can't trust yourself. So you have to find a deeper frequency to resonate with. The Holy Spirit, to my Hindu friends, Krishna hiding in plain sight as a charioteer. Even acknowledging the good you must do to yourself will alert the Benedict Arnold superego snitch within. You have to dance with the you that exists right now and let the Spirit flow. Put the pieces together as you go. Somehow we're still here. I should have been dead. I should have been a casualty of the opioid crisis. A few years ago, I got in a shouting match with an old man as an employee on the dock. Lost my temper. A few hours later, I felt really bad about it. And when I feel bad about something, I usually get very reckless and tend to do stupid things. My buddy challenged me to take a slide off of one of our double-decker boats onto the deck of another pontoon boat, just another something stupid we were talked about doing. He drove the other boat up to the back behind the double-decker pontoon, where the slides hang up above the water. But as usual, I'm too impatient. I went too early, always overextending, and I careened off of that slide right into the front of his approaching boat. The back of my legs caught the bow, and I performed a reverse somersault and ended up under the boat, having performed a full rotation. If my buddy had had the boat just a few feet to the left or to the right, my head would have met the pontoon right as I entered the water. And I think that would have been it. Suicide by Darwin Award. Just so stupid. I can't take credit for still being here, but I know for certain now that a brute force encounter with every obstacle is not the way forward. We got to dance and we have to flow. Whether it's an old man looking to start shit or a young kid feeding his lane and blaming you for existing. Had a lot of that this week. We need a multi-dimensional approach to decision making that leaves room for the wind and the waves. I'm telling you as a surfer, you catch a wave and tap into that flowing energy that you did not originate. There's nothing like it. 2020 will be the year the surfing violinist starts surfing with the spirit. I hope you join me and discover your own mixed metaphors to help you make sense of your specific place, position, and circumstance. Because surfing is better than stoicism. And scene. Because we got all this talk now. I started listening to some of this Epictetus, like the Stoics. And it's just, it's all just, yeah, fine. Like, whatever. Like, we're not taking a time machine back to ancient Greece. Okay, that's over. That ship has sailed. There's no stoicism that's going to see you through the day. Like, if you do become stoic and you find your little rule book that's going to work for you, then you're just going to make your own little, like, cantonment. You know, this own little cordoned off thing where you're not going to be able to mix with anyone else because as soon as they say something that contradicts your rule, you're going to be like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't mix with you Epicureans. I'm a Stoic. Like this, that kind of, none of us live like that. Like everyone who says that they live by a rule, it's like you make exceptions to your own rules in order to get along with anybody. And so,
in order to live,
especially in such a complex world as ours.
Oh yeah.
With all the cultures and with all the technological, so we can't avoid any longer interaction because we want to be comfortable. Like there's no safe space anymore for any of us. Like it's just over. The ship has sailed. So you got to find a way to dance through the cultural complexities, political complexities, economic complexities, and find a way to win the game so you can win people to the side of not being a total douchebag and trying to make their own cantonments in which nobody else can come into their thing. But if they want to make their cantonment, then it's like fine. It's like, well, I mean, I would love to come in, but you don't want me in, so I guess I'm gonna go over here. It's like you value their sovereignty over their own little thing. You don't try to break the rules of the game. But what I've just found is that so many of the games that we have to play, people are breaking the rules of their own game. You know what I mean? And so the only way to really get through in these confused milieus of milieus, these cities within cities within cities, these cultures within cultures within cultures, is to learn to dance through them and just not to get stuck at which is a typical autistic thing to do. You know, it's like you just can't see through the fog and I just like forward rant at the wall, like literally hit my head against the wall. Just flow on, you know, like water off of someone said this one time, I think it was some old Christian writer. She was talking about when you see a river, it's just cascading down the side of a mountain. It's just beautiful. But think about what water in a river is doing. It's dynamic. It hits an obstacle and it has fun. I mean, a river looks like it's having fun, a babbling brook, you know, as opposed to just, stagnant water. And I think when we let that obstacle hit us and we make it all just about brute force or sheer force of will, some things you just, you can't think through this one. You have to feel it. I thought about that scene from Jurassic Park this week, coincidentally. But there are some things that just you can't plan, and you don't have enough control over your environment in order to make everything fit the way that you want it to and to make the choices that you want to. In that sense, the Stoics are right. Like, you are only at that point responsible for your reaction to the situation. And that, in that sense, I think they're right. But we need a much more multifaceted approach in order to survive. Not just survive. I mean, we're not just trying to survive.
Right.
You know, I stayed alive the last 3 years, but it's just like, it's not good enough. We need to be dynamic. And so in order to be dynamic or anti-fragile, whatever term you want to use, you've got to be functioning at multiple, back into the that little fractal vision, dream I had. It's like you can inhabit more than one plane at one time. Like doing one thing, you can be doing multiple things.
Yeah, I am more than one thing.
More than one thing. I was talking with my. Okay, do you have any thoughts about that?
Nope. I mean, I do, but I still haven't really. Keep going.
So I met with my buddy yesterday, and we were talking about how the human body is just a great metaphor for how we really should structure more of our cultural attempts. We should experiment with different sort of leadership, organizational, and social models. And if you think about what we are as human beings, we have so many mutual relationships that benefit within the human organism, that it's an organism of organisms. We have so many parasites and bacteria in us. And he's a doctor, or physician's assistant. So he said, humans are made up of more bacteria than they are human. Like, there's so many bacteria in our cells. We got these mutually beneficial bacteria in our intestines or stomach or whatever that help break down things that we can't break down. And that to me just hit me like a ton of bricks, because I'm like, we're always looking for uniformity within our milieu, right? We got like on the dissident right on Twitter right now. It's like there's all this debate about like, what side are you going to pick? It's like, who gives a shit? I'm just tired. I'm tired of picking all these sides on this dumb. Like, the human body is not it is not coherent. You need incoherence. You need parasites and bacteria in order to break down the food. And we like, that's not part of us, but we're thankful they exist. And so I think that's what we're going to find out at a certain point. You can talk about multiculturalism being bad if it's hegemonic and dictated and used by demagogues to pit us against each other. But we are a culture of cultures. Literally, we have bacterial cultures, plural, inside of us that make it possible for us to survive as an individual human being. And wouldn't society actually function better if we thought of it like that, instead of thinking this monolithic, like, oh, this is going to be the ultimate culture to rule all cultures? Like, I'm over it, dude. Caesar's dead. All right, it's over. Yeah. Imperialism is dead. Like, it's just. I listened to a good podcast this week about Urbit, the decentralized internet, and he said a couple things that just like lit the fire for me. He said one of the ways he tried to describe this decentralized infrastructure is that it's almost like an archipelago, whereas we keep trying to, in the making of whatever thing we're into, whether it be a new company, a business model, cultural identity, political identity, economic movement, whatever, we keep thinking of it as like a contiguous landmass. And really we need to start thinking about this, that phrase, no man is an island, but maybe we can form our own little islands in an archipelago in which there is this mutually beneficial cooperative competition. And so that way you can have your thing, but maybe you need help on this other thing. And so you can, and instead of trying to put everything under one roof, Sony, Disney, Netflix, I mean, we've all been there. We've all worked for these giant things at one place or another, and they just want you lockstep. It's just goose stepping bullshit. They're not telling you, oh, you're going to be we got this bacterial culture over here that's going to handle this for us. No, you're going to be you have to sign on the on every single statement and make sure it goes by company policy. Blah blah. And it's run like a bad machine. It's not run like the human being. So those are some of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've talked about this before when we talked about the balkanization, right?
Yes.
The balkanization of our I forget what you said. The balkanization of our lives, right?
Right.
Of our endeavors. We're not one thing. There was something in there that you said. Well, so the difficulty. So like on the flip side, the way, I mean, this is what I come back to. It's like the bug that's hard to fix is that the way I track success is through truth, right? Like I can't have success. Well, I can, but I think there's something in me that the reason I hold such positions, whether I break the rules or not, the reason I have the rules is so that I can track my success.
Right.
But I think the real success, what you're saying, and what I really like is and I'm starting to get a vision for it, but I think we really need to develop this vision of what success looks like outside of, analytics, outside of rules, outside of objective truth,
Yeah, well, and I guess like objective verification, like in a post-stock market system, we tend to attach monetary value to every sort of reality. Like it only is successful if it's making money. And so in some ways, even if people haven't attached a monetary value to certain things, we still tend to have a stock market. And I talk about this like in my attempts at writing this book, that basically that upwardly trending line is the only thing that matters. And it's like, I mean, you remember growing up, did you go to church much growing up, like small churches or bigger sized churches? Or
it was always like a struggle between my parents. Met in a small what do you call it, home church, and so we mostly did home church, but we went to churches. As my dad's parents were a big part of the Baptist church,
right? And see, growing up like in the Southeast in churches, it was always this almost like stock driven mindset when it came to people.
Yeah,
it's like well, last week we had 35 people in our Sunday schools, and the and that's
Baptist
a 10%.
Church,
that's a 10% increase over this month last year. Like,
yeah, they would have like the number.
Yes,
up on the,
yes. Every church around here, like not even Baptist, like every single one has you put the numbers up in it or whatever. I'm like, what is that? I just have a hard time believing. like that the early church was like that. Our numbers are really coming down, guys. So there's this real stock market mentality to every human interaction where it's everything. It's not even just necessarily a market value, but it's almost like a human capital value. Like if you want to blame capitalism for all the evils of the world, well, that is an actual, I think, misuse of the idea of having a stock of goods. Is treating people as your stock of goods, or treating people as your currency, and that I'm very ideologically opposed to. It drives me crazy when I just see just people are literally just interchangeable parts. It doesn't matter what the particular person is, as long as you have that butt in that seat, or
Yeah.
that finger in that voting booth. Like that's all it is. Like the person is a butt, a finger, or a credit card.
But so the thing that the rub for me right now is that I think both of us have spent our lives sort of like not really caring about. I've always, it's always been like part of my philosophy, part of my DNA to not care about money and to not like I've always had an allergic reaction to that sort of thing.
Right.
Growing up, it came from my parents, and now I don't have any money, and it's a problem. So
Yeah.
so I don't know how. Like I want to raise my kids to not love money, but I also don't want them to. I don't know. Maybe the struggle I'm going through now is fine. Maybe that's okay. It's just trying to figure out how to like I don't want to be a drag. So it's funny you talk about the contradictions. Like I am a staunch Republican conservative guy, but I live practically much more like a liberal.
Right.
Like I believe, like on a micro level, I'm hugely a communist. Like I believe in community and sharing and that kind
Right.
of thing. But
Well, and I think that gets to the whole thing about humans being more than one thing, and that we keep trying to be pigeonhole, or the powers that be keep trying to pigeonhole us into one option. And sometimes the competition is not even on the same plane. It's like, are you a communist or are you a Republican? And it's like, are we even talking about the same debate? And so like you think about my that little dream I had. It's like you could be, depending on the time period, depending on the situation, you might be called a revolutionary at one period of history, and you might be called like a conservative another period of history. Like if you look at it through time, it's like the conservatives of the United States of America who overthrew the kingdom, like they weren't conservatives, they were radicals. So it's like I think you can inhabit more than one of these planes depending on where you are. And so, I mean, the whole enterprise, this podcast and what we're trying to do is just to remind people that they can't be reduced to just one set of parameters.
right.
And even if you can get to a set of parameters, that's okay. That's better than just being literally a checkbox. You're like one option out of 5, and that's all you get. And when you work in the corporate world, you see that too. It's like we've got just like these job descriptions that you're supposed to fit in that box, and then you find that once again, this is the thing that's always frustrated me. Like, well, I'm doing what's in the box. And then you start realizing politics comes in, and they're like, well, no, we really need you to do this other thing. It's like, well, that's somebody else's job. Well, but they can't say the person's not doing the job. So you get punished for being good at your job, and you get more work to do while that other person just farts around, but they can't be fired because of some other rule. It ends up being these boxes that we've constrained ourselves with don't actually fulfill their own purpose.
Yes. Well, okay, but let's develop the vision of the positive of that. So that's the negative. That's
Right.
the dystopian vision of our lives. But what is the flip side?
Okay,
Like,
the flip side is this, and it should be obvious to people like me and you who like solving problems. We play video games because we like solving problems. That's what video games are. They're just elaborate puzzles, right?
Yeah.
And I mentioned it last week, I think, maybe. So, League has a new champion, Aphelios, and he's got League of Legends for those who don't play. And he's got, I don't know how many different guns, and you can cycle through them. And the guns have, if the one that you're actually equipping is in one hand, and it depends on what other one is in the other hand, like it will change the effects that it has. And so it's this endless amount of possibilities, basically, just in one champion. So you're playing mini games within mini games within mini games within mini games. It's like
Wow.
it's like the the Russia doll idea, and if you can take that, and that's really what the game is about, is just ridiculous, irreducible complexity compiled over ridiculous, irreducible complexity. It's like, that's why the game is just so dynamic.
Yeah.
But if we could think of life like that, like, oh, this is a level. Oh, this is my big boss this week, is this insufferable person in HR, and how am I going to play this game?
Yeah.
And instead of and see it like a game, and then in the process try to think, this is also a person, not just and that's true with League of Legends too. Like, you're playing with actual real people, and you tend to just pigeonhole them and think, this is an idiot, moron,
Feeder.
You attach them to an identity, prepackaged, like, it's easy to deal with. But if you can find a way to dance, that's why I think dance is just going to be my whole. For me, surfing is probably better, because I at least look a little bit less ungainly surfing than I do dancing. But dance being the metaphor for the decade of 2020, because then you're not always just in a fight to the death with a person at HR or whatever. Like, you're trying to find a way to, there's a part of you, your id is just going to try to always treat that person as the enemy. But then maybe if you can just find that one thing you got in common, you're like, okay, this is my Rosetta Stone for that person. This is my interpretive key to allow me to think of that person as a human being, not just as a malevolent entity who's, hell bent on making my life miserable.
Yeah.
And there were times in India I would get that, where, you're in a combative relationship, or not really combative, but like a competitive relationship. So, with a guy driving an auto rickshaw or something like that, or, you're bartering over something. If you can find some way just to get a smile on their face, you seeing the smile endears you to them, and them like getting a laugh out of you, it endears, reverse. So, and then it breaks the ice a bit, And so if we can just think about it more like that, there is a time for, ruthless competition, but I think we just go there immediately. It's just like nuclear strategy all the time. Like with that old man on the dock that time, I did not have to escalate it. It was just, I don't even know what the dude wanted. Like, none of it made any sense. Like, I think he was just in a bad mood or something. But
So tell me what
de-escalate.
happened. What did he say to you?
He said he had a connection with one of the brothers of the owner of the dock, and that he was the owner was gonna get a new really big boat, and they were gonna take one of our slips that we use for the double decker pontoons and put it in there. He's like, how wide are these boat slips? It's like, I don't know, man. It's like, I'm not the dock. They have a like master of the dock. I can't remember the term for that. I'm not the deck master or the dock master. Like, I don't know what you want me to pull out like a measuring tape? I would measure it for you. He's like, no, come on, I was like, no, I don't. He's like, well, we're gonna have to get that pontoon out of here. We're gonna put this big boat in here. It's gonna be a 55-foot victory. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like, go talk to one of the bosses. Like, I'm just a peon over here. He's like, man, you don't need to take that tone with me. Like, he was looking for, I don't know what was going on.
It's because you look so like in charge, man. You just have the kind of face that it's like, no matter what, people are like, oh man, this guy's got to be the boss. He's like 100 years old, and he's like spry, and like he looks like he's got his life together, and if he starts taking a tone with me, then
we're gonna have trouble here. So yeah, I guess I took typical, and I when I'm in a bad place, I don't, all the time I'm wearing my emotions, my heart on my sleeve. So I think that always makes it worse too. So
see, I never have that problem because I have like a baby face. Everybody's like, oh, this teenager. Don't take this guy seriously.
There's always talking down to you.
Oh yeah. Everybody thinks I'm like 19. I act like it too, like goofy. And most people they're like, you have 4 kids? You're married? huh? Like, does not compute. Like, I thought you were still in college. I'm like, I have white hair, man. What?
Let me hit some of chat here. I think we lost. Yeah, we probably lost a few of them. People on Twitch come on and they're expecting interactive commentary. It's like, well, this is a podcast, and so I don't really interact too much, especially during the monologue. I like your T-shirts. Reminds me of Salman Khan's Bunyan ads. That's true. Yeah. Speaking of T-shirts, actually, Judah has made some T-shirts.
Do you want me like to?
Yeah, you can just throw it in chat. I can.
Well, I can also. Let's see.
Here, I'll get the link. Does that one work? For Judah? Yeah. Okay, I'll throw it in the main one. But yeah, Judah's made some T-shirts kind of back from starting with the reverse redaction. Some of our I don't know, phrases that I didn't even remember us saying. So,
yeah, I've been recording them.
So he's been keeping some of that
writing them down
together.
How do I guess I can't share my screen, huh?
I don't know.
Anyways, yeah, I go to that link. I've put some together.
Is that?
What?
That is like a weird looking link. Hold on. It all wigged out. Is that going to work?
No. Here, I'll put it.
Yeah, it did work, I think, yeah.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Strange. Why would it do that? It's like a god-awful link.
So so I've been doing T-shirts a while for the marketing department. I'm like the marketing department of where I work now. And so I found a good combination of like, I don't like the nut low the crappy T-shirts, that they sell. So I get the higher ones and then I bring the price down. So we're not really making a profit on these. I've already ordered a couple of them. I want to wear them.
So he's making them so he can buy them. If you like any of the ones that kind of bring back some memories of some of our crazy discussions, check that out. Your adventures sound like a Marvel movie. Well, thanks. I've got the new camera, so I mean we're actually shooting our first music video starting next week. We've already got some footage from it. Melissa's the director. She storyboarded and everything, so we're getting back into the jam here. Bomb Diggy Bomb Bomb, always sparking up the conversation, says, what if you got everything you ever wanted? What then? Yeah, I think that, again, this kind of comes back to the whole idea of the rule you following being too predictive and stringent to really adapt to real life. Mm-hmm. And I think when you get what you think you want, you're like, this isn't what I really intended. And so that's why I think you need a dynamic strategy with like branching multi-dimensional paths where you're not putting all your eggs in one basket sort of scenario.
Yeah, my brother and I not argue, but we talk about this a lot. And I think you kind of fall into the same thing in the sense of like my biggest problem is I don't really know what I want. If I really knew what I wanted, like I would go after it like a tiger.
Well, yeah, and I think some of the people who have been successful, from the version of success that we've kind of, understand and have inherited, have been people who've done that. They made their life about this one ideal or this one goal, this one marker of success. And they, to be fair, a lot of them have been actually very responsible with that success. Quite a few of them. I mean, you got a lot of people that could have just been one-hit wonders and rested on their laurels for the rest of their life. But they took the success they made in that one thing, invested in a new thing, and build. I am not opposed to that model of success. If people are investing it well and using their power in a way that's actually benefiting other people. I don't like, however, I feel like it's very easy to move from that, like once you have a string of successes, into an imperial mindset where you're like, I will conquer all. It's very hard to resist that pull. It's almost like a gravitational urge. Jupiter is calling you into his orbit. or Saturn is calling you into his
Right.
orbit, and you're going to become just this, eating your own children sort of demigod. So,
Well, so, and he says something about like if you think life is short, or if you think of life as short, you know what you want, and like I mean I know what I want for the most part. Like I've always wanted. I think even in Toccoa when we were at school together, like I said, like I wanted kids. I love having kids. I love
Mhm.
having a family. The problem is I never thought past that. Like I
right.
got what I wanted, and now I have to take care of that.
Yeah, well, and it's like so many dudes. Like, I mean, all I thought about, like, so much of my social life was structured around, I want to have a girlfriend.
Yep.
I want to get married, and then we get married, and I realize I have no idea what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
here's another person joining me on this adventure. I have no idea where we're going, and so many, like. It's not just masculine. So many free-spirited adventures end up just being journeys to nowhere.
Yeah.
You like get there, you're like, why did I think this was cool? I saw this in a video one time. I thought it'd be cool. We're here. There's nothing here. So
Yeah, it's like one time I went with my classmates. We visited London, and I was huge into the Beatles, and all I wanted to do was go to Abbey Road.
that's it. I
And
remember
we
the
get
picture.
to Abbey Road, and I'm like, this is lame. There's just a freaking road, dude.
You got memed on, dude. You got memed on. They're like, you actually thought that it was going to have like some sort of special significance, like the spirit had resided there because it inspired the Beatles to take this picture. You get there, it's like,
I
is
thought Paul would show up and
Yeah.
be like, "Hi, mate," like, "Hey, you
Welcome.
want to sing a song with me?"
you're the first person to ever take a pilgrimage to Abbey Road.
You made it.
You're one of us now. It's so
I don't know
funny.
either Australian, but yeah.
That's my
It's fine.
my
Yeah, I
accent
do
like
that.
swings between Australian and like Cockney. I was like, I can't do anything else. So
It'd probably be more like this.
it'd probably be more like this. Oh,
Probably.
you're right. It's Yakko, Wacko, and Dot.
Right? They talk a
Probably
little bit
more
like
like
that.
this. Yeah, like this. Yeah, there was when I was a kid, I was playing League of Legends. Jeez, it's in my
When you were a
marrow.
kid, you were playing League
When I
of
was a
Legends.
kid, I took a time machine to take League of Legends because I knew it was my destiny. I was playing Legend of Zelda, and I think it was the very first console I owned. Nintendo, first home entertainment system that I had, and we got Zelda for Christmas or whatever it was, and I had this idea or this fantasy that I was just going to beat the game by finding some Easter egg, like burning. You could use the candle to burn bushes, and so I was like, I'm gonna find the secret bush, and it's gonna be like the ticket to the end of the game. It's like,
Yeah.
and it was literally like a one trick to the end of the game where you save the princess, like by finding this one bush that no one else had found. It's like, what kind of dumb idea for a game is that? It's like, not the whole point of the game is all the challenge leading up to it and all the discovery you have along the way. But
Absolutely, yeah.
as I had this like juvenile mindset of what the end game would look like, and I found myself even as an adult, like with this shower project that has gone on interminably, and every week is a new exercise in soul crushing defeat. I just have this, vision that I'm going to just knock it out. Like, I'm a smart enough guy. And then you get in there and you're like, this doesn't fit this, that doesn't fit that. And, I messed this thing up. I measured off by 1/8 of an inch. And that 1/8 of an inch actually mattered this time. And so, but rather than, when you're playing Legend of Zelda as a kid, you glory in all those difficulties. Like you come back and you're like, I'm going to beat it today. And
the truth is, when we look back at the struggle that we're going through right now, we're going to think fondly, probably not of the whole thing, but of various moments.
that's where the nostalgia comes through. That's where you want the rose-colored glasses to help you remember the good parts, and to realize you probably were making a bigger deal about the bad parts than you really needed to. And so for me, like I'm amazed how juvenile I still am when it comes to real, human difficulties, whether it be professional or, this construction stuff. Like it seems like the end of the world at the time, but it's like, just treat it like a game, like this is my gromp for the day, and I've got to clear this in order to move on to the next thing. It's like, especially with League of Legends, I think of this a lot with League, because it is a game within games within games within games, where you have all these little obstacles, but all the obstacles are kind of fun. And so if you can imbue real life with that, instead of thinking, oh, I got to clean my room, it's like, oh, this is a puzzle game. Just, well, what's the difference? It's like on The Simpsons, they made fun of that one time. It's like Homer or Marge tells the kids to go out and mow the lawn, and they're like, oh, no, we don't want to. Like, we're going to go to the fair. And Homer comes in, it's like, we're going to the fair. She's like, ugh. So they go to the fair, like, oh, look, virtual reality. And it's like yard cleaning simulator. And they're in the back, like, cutting the things. They're like, yay, look at me. And the funny thing is, like, my son, he's right over there on the iPad playing Roblox. when we were coming back from India one of those times, like, Roblox was just like apparently it's never not been the thing since, like, when it came out. But there was one of them was pizza making simulator or something, where all the kids got on and made pizzas together. I'm like, what is that? Why is that a game? That's not a game, man. That's stupid. Just make a real pizza. This is,
Well, so to get back to what we're talking about, like I think that's why The Matrix was so big for us, for me,
right?
Like that, it really showed viscerally the idea that life is a game, that it's that the thing that we're participating in right now. Once we understand it, we can, and I'm working on this belief that I really believe that God is what is holding every molecule together. He's what is making every molecule, like he's what's making these molecules flesh molecules, and those molecules wood like. And so if we join God, then and if we join him in what he's doing, I really believe that's what the kingdom of God is. It's just realizing, it's just like the Matrix, you just realize, like, wow, I'm not in control of anything.
Well, and I think that's what I was trying to get, the point that I was trying to get at. Like if you like hear someone who's into the new age talking about like vibrations and frequencies and like, a good aura and all that stuff, I think that's kind of like the idea we're talking about here. Like it's almost like one of those like self-fulfilling prophecy things. If you come into a situation and you got a cloud in your head and you're just like, like if the light that is in you is darkness, like you're just looking around, you're playing League of Legends, like just forfeit it at 10 minutes. F all you. One bad thing happens and it's just like it's like a domino effect, right? Like one bad thing happens and the rest of your day is ruined. And I mean, I'm so guilty of this.
Yeah.
But it's that, like, if you can come into it with this dynamic sort of dance, like, oh, well, that thing didn't go my way. Take a deep breath. Like, you can go into the next situation with a better frequency, and it is, sometimes it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. All of a sudden someone's like, oh man, that guy's not a pain to be around. He's not like dour and hating life. And,
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing. It's amazing. The power of positivity. I have a friend who is constantly, like, I play fantasy football with him, and he is like constantly like, oh, my guys haven't scored, I'm gonna lose. I'm like, yes, you're gonna lose, because you freaking, like, I have that guy. Don't you say another negative thing, because like it's like he wills it into existence,
right?
And I believe wholeheartedly. So there's a saying I heard once, that the universe favors the journeyman, and like, I wholeheartedly believe in that. I mean, I don't know what the universe is, but this collection of ecosystems, like,
right.
It even, like you said, even in our body, it favors the person that is moving forward with a smile. And It just does. It's just the way things work. Goodness and positivity, man. They it has a lot to do with the relationships in this ecosystem,
Well, and
right?
it's difficult because I think we've all had our hopes dashed. Like, and when we've had those times where we were positive and everything went
Yep.
totally bad.
Yep.
But it's like, what other option do we have other than to try again? And I think what you said, like the whole point of that essay is about the spirit. Like, I've been thinking of these old terms. They've been used for a long time: soul, heart, and spirit. I've been thinking of the soul as your will seat, the seat of the will, where it's like the choosing mechanism, and it's
Yes,
something I
yeah.
have not been very good at. And it's something, like when panic is hitting, stuff is bad. Like you choose to not let your emotions get the best of you, not let your heart take over. And, whether it be rage or depression, you just like stay even. And that's where that whole stoic philosophy is very helpful. But then there's a part that, like, if you let that muscle get too strong, that decision-making muscle get too strong, then you start stifling the spirit, which is kind of this free-flowing idea that an opportunity just comes out of nowhere and you're like inclined to say, I really can't afford that right now. I've got to do this blah, 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 because Mr. Soul has taken over. But what you'd end up doing is artificially stamping out the newness of life that life brings. There's these kind of serendipitous moments where that don't seem on paper or, on the actuarial tables to have a real good return on investment. The Stoic looks at it and says, I don't see anything here.
Right.
But you do notice, like, some of these people who've been the most successful in the stock market, they're not like Scrooge. They're actually really esoteric and weird. They have almost like this weird, that some of the things you've see them invest in, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, that is crazy. And that ended up, so there's some like this intuition that a Stoic can't understand, that the soul can't understand. And so
Absolutely.
being in tune with the spirit, whatever that entity is, whether it's just, some other part of what it means to be a living entity, I don't know, but just not stifling that intuition because you're afraid of risk, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so I have been working on this philosophy. A lot of people disagree with me, but I believe wholeheartedly in the idea like that your personality, your soul, I believe personality and soul are the same thing. And what I think it is like where your spirit and your body overlap.
Okay.
And so it's like,
okay, yeah, I got you.
When those ingredients come together, it makes who you are,
Right.
And so the other day I was sitting, remember I told you when I took pot, like I had this like moment where like I was like, oh, that's what a paranoia feels like, like
right.
I'm not a paranoid person, but I was like, oh, that's the marijuana, but like I could compartmentalize it. Well, the other day I was sitting at my desk and at work, and the girl next to me I work with, like, she was talking or something, and I felt like this compartmentalized, like I was able to compartmentalize it in the moment, this just utter feeling of like hatred for her. And like and it was irritation that had turned
into
to
bitterness and hatred.
And and I was working on something on my computer, and I just took a moment, like I didn't want to let her see it, and I just like, what is this? And I mentioned it to her. No, I didn't say like hatred for you, but like I said, like I'm feeling really there's something going on right now. And you know what happened is she gave me a cookie. I ate the cookie and it went away. Like I
simple.
think I was feeling hangry, and like it had gotten I was having some kind of like, what do you call it? Like when your sugar levels are too low. It was physical. The blend with my spirit at the time like made this bad thing,
Yeah, and see, I think this is one of the things that gets twisted with religion, but one of the good observations I feel like from my own faith tradition is the claim that human beings are fallen, or you could say corrupted. Like there's just something like a little tweaked with us, and I don't think that's controversial to say. You have something happen to you and you have the totally wrong reaction to it. And you go back and look at it in retrospect, you're like, oh, I read that totally wrong. So, we're fallen and we're finite. We're not just seeing. It's not that we don't have the whole picture, and sometimes even when we have most of the picture, we still make the wrong conclusion. Like, so sometimes our reactions are just wrong, and we scapegoat somebody. Like, we put the blame on, it's like my wife, she did this thing, or my friend, he didn't do this thing. But it really is, we're mad about something else, but we're not good. We're really bad about correlation and causation. We blame a cause that that correlates, happened around the same time, but it wasn't that person's fault.
Exactly.
So
well, and see, and the wisdom, and like you were saying about like the spirit. So I always say this thing in fantasy football that drives Jared and them crazy, but past statistics are not a direct. What do I say? Past statistics are not a direct causation of future success. Like, you can't say, just like, it's impossible to say, like, it's like the stock market. You can't say, because the stock has been doing so well every day, today it is going to do well again. No, you have to have like a prophetic spirit, where you look at other things. You have to interpret life more than just one rule.
Exactly. And that's where the whole fractalized schematic idea, or flowchart idea, that it's not a two-dimensional flowchart. It's a multi-dimensional flowchart, multiphasic, as they would say in Star Trek, techno jargon, like techno babble. But I think about that techno babble word a lot, multiphasic. Like, it's across space-time, where in one, it's fulfilling more than one goal across multiple dimensions. Yeah. And, our political landscape, our economic landscape have been reduced to that upwardly trending line, which isn't even two-dimensional. It's like one-dimensional. It's like, you can only be going up. We're only going up, baby, to the moon. That's the only thing that matters. Forget the fact that you have to walk on the ground. I don't know. So no wonder we feel like out of body all the time, and behind all the time, because we gotta keep going. You gotta keep going. You gotta get your numbers up. So yeah, I think the multiple dimension idea that we're not just more than one thing in our interests or our culture or our emotional states. We're more than one thing in our activities and the experiences. What that activity means to me doesn't mean the same thing to my son. As soon as you get two people in the room, it becomes even more complex, So,
have you ever you've seen Donnie Darko, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, to me, it captures that in a way, because you see that, like, that worm, like, life force, it ends up being, spoiler alert, I'm really not sure what it ends up being, but I think it has something to do with, like, time, like it was him or something. I can't remember. I want to go back and watch it, but it makes me think of that. It's like, we're like this, we're more than one timeline. We're more than one, whatever that wormy type thing was.
Yeah, that movie is kind of like a shameless pot boiler, kind of insufferable. But I remember it creates a real mood and does get at this idea of the what do you call it? Parallel universe, multiple timelines idea, but from a different perspective, like not in your typical, techno jargon Star Trek-y sort of way. So yeah, it was kind of an interesting thought experiment. Let me hit the rest of chat, and I think we'll probably wrap up here. Bomb says, rules are artificial. They're what limits you, my friend. Yeah, and I agree. I think that's the whole point of this. If the rule you followed brought you to this, what use was the rule? There's so many rules that we follow that are just arbitrary, and we're really using them. We think we're using them as a ruler, like I said, like a measuring stick, but we're using them actually as an excuse to defer decision-making capability to a ruler, a king. So we're using this basically sacred cow as our god. It's become an idol so that we don't have to accept responsibility for the cause and effect in our life. And I think that it becomes a passive-aggressive way of dealing with the world. Sandy, thanks, Sandy, if you're still here. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you got something out of this. Bob says money is important up to a point. Until you reach that point, not having money is always going to bother you a lot. And I think that that's one of my problems with so many of the idealistic things that movements I've been a part of or have sympathized with. It's getting the cart before the horse. Like, until you can provide for your own, a lot of these debates are just pure philosophical. They're just sophistry. Like it doesn't really amount to anything. And you have a responsibility to the people around you immediately, first and foremost. You just want to make sure that you're doing that in such a way that it's not like Walter White, right? Like you're not trying to make an empire to your ego and trick yourself into thinking you're doing it for your family when you're really just doing it just to jack off your ego. Sumit, when you guys are coming back to India, someday, someday, 3 in a row, 2 in the row there, comments about that. We would like to, and we are in the process of doing a little, India related. Here's something India related. Jamie Alter started a YouTube channel recently. He's definitely following in his dad's footsteps in terms of mastery of Hindi, and listening to him talk, it's just like, he's basically Indian. He's born and raised there. But it is just disconcerting. Like if you turn your face away from the screen, you listen to him, you're like, oh, that's Amir Khan. And you look back, you're like, oh, it's a white dude. What? His pronunciation is just, it's magnifique. It made me feel nostalgic. It was weird because I was watching that Jurassic Park scene with the ice cream between Richard Attenborough and Laura Dern, and for some reason Jamie came up in conversation. And it made me think of his dad. Tom Alter had a scene in this movie, The Chess Players, by Satyajit Ray, and he shares the scene with Richard Attenborough, of a younger Richard Attenborough, John Hammond from Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Richard Attenborough was in this movie, The Chess Players, Indian director, and so they're both Brits, and Richard Attenborough is sitting at this, at his desk, smoking a cigar. Oh man, that dude is such a good actor. Like, I mean, people think about him as a director, but man, he's a great actor. And he's sitting there smoking a cigar, and he's like, tell me something about this Urdu poetry that they do around here. And so Tom Alter's like, he's like, feels like embarrassed to do it. And he starts doing this Urdu poetry recitation. Oh my gosh. He like transforms. He's like a British soldier that all of a sudden he's this Urdu poet, like in just a blink of an eye. It's like, oh my gosh, so good, dude. Wow. So anyways, Jamie is on the scene. He's got 9,700 subscribers right now, thereabouts. So any of my Indian viewers, go subscribe to Jamie. He's legit. He's a legit lover of India. I mean, he's the man. He was really nice to our channel too. When we were over there, we were trying to make that Bard's Chai Stand script, and he actually helped. Like him and his wife, they were very supportive, and he played a part in it. And
I remember,
yeah. So he's a really good guy, and I'm going to try to watch that over the next few weeks to try to get my Hindi brain working a little better before we start these Bollywood movies reviews. So check him out. Sandy says we are not and should not try to be the Borg. Military conformity is stifling. Militant conformity. I like that way of wording it. Militant conformity is stifling. And when you start getting into a managerial situation, our predilection, our first option is to think of how other organizations have made it work. And so we usually go to corporate world, or we go to the military. And those things don't always work in other scenarios. Like philanthropy doesn't work with a militant sort of post-industrial mindset. Like it doesn't work because the system will be gamed at a certain point. Just think about what a military is trying to do. A military's primary goal is killing people.
Yeah.
Like that's not, like, oh, what's defense? It's like, that's a euphemism. The primary goal of the military is to be there when shit gets real and you have to kill more people on their side than you lose on yours. Probably not the best starting point if you're thinking in terms of humanitarian, or even if you're thinking in terms of business. So you want to learn from what the militaries throughout the world have used, but that's not going to probably be the best idea for how to make a system work in a bounty-producing goal frame. I would think a human body would be better than that. And if you think about human metabolism compared to a lot of like birds and stuff, we talked about this, but like a pelican eats so much food. It's disgusting, dude. They're gluttons. So many animals in creation are gluttons, and their metabolism is god awful. Human beings are a monument to biochemical, like, what would you call it? Like sustainability. Like we are green. We're more green than nature is, man. And so, I mean, obviously there's things that we can do to improve in a post-industrial milieu about the way that we do it. But the technologies are there and we're starting to figure some of that stuff out. But to go to the military as the first line of how do you manage people? For certain things, it is good. For other things, not probably the best starting point.
Amen.
Bob, W. Bob says, I'd pay to watch you dance. When are you going to make it happen? It's happening in 2020, baby. Don't worry. It's coming.
Ooh.
Shake that booty. Oh, yeah. You're going to see it. I finally got my my heavy bag up. I put it up. Started punching yesterday. Already got some scrapage on my knuckles. Feeling good. I look absolutely idiotic. But, man, it feels good. It feels good. And man, I'm out of shape, too. I didn't even make it a full round. Put the dubstep on. Ragabomb.
Did you film it though?
I did. I'm not sharing it. Like it's too embarrassing. I look like an idiot. I look like
on.
freaking ape.
Put it on your Patreon.
That's right. Patrons will get
$50 level.
We'll make it that debilitating. I've thought about starting like a private TikTok or something. I don't know like how you do that, but like if you want to see the real cringe, you can pay. Karim says, agreed, Ford. What we need more of is extending our emotional complexities to others as hard as that might be, because that's how we humanize the other as hard as it might be. And it is hard. But if we can think of it more like a game, and again, like it's tricky here too, because then it can become like almost like a pickup artist approach to things. Like, ooh, how many people can I get in my turn them around today? Instead of like getting laid, you're just trying to like see how many people you can make smile. Like it can almost become cynical in that way too.
That is true.
But I think if you can make it more fun, then you can endear to each other better.
And see, that's why I think religion is so important.
Right.
Because you're doing it for, all right, something else. What were you going to say?
Oh, no, that's interesting because I went to church for the first time in over a year on Sunday. So,
wow, dude.
And it was actually a good experience.
Oh, good.
So, to those of you who are not, who have a different faith tradition or something like that, just every now and then try to go reconnect with the people around you that you connected with at a previous time. Maybe it's, your family and they're still in a certain religious tradition or something like that. I think there is something there. Like if you can, like you said, Judah, if you can find a way to like bottle up that emotion, like maybe it's just like cynicism or angst or rage or like all the bad memories. If you can find a way to like compartmentalize that for a second and say, and put it out. And, I think like the Catholic's idea, I'm not a Catholic. I never will be. I mean, I'm pretty sure that that's a true statement. You can pretty much bank on that one.
Is that a rule?
Oh, is that a rule? Ooh, touche. But I'm just, I've got my issues. But if you think about it, like that idea of confession, like there's something really, confession is good for the soul. If you can find some way to get that and get it out of your system, almost like crap that has to get out of your system, or, like our sweat glands get all this junk out of our system. Like if you can find a way to just get it out, but not pretend it's there, like not pretend it's there. Like the worst thing you can do is to pretend it's not there and repress it. Freud even talked about repression as being one of the cardinal sins. And I do agree with him on that, because then it festers, then it comes out and it works its way out in these really nefarious ways where you don't even know. It becomes a passive aggressive, like you're crusading against somebody, don't even know why they're doing it, because you won't allow yourself to admit you hate that person. So I think dealing with some of your past, going to a church or a temple or mosque or whatever, whatever thing that you grew up with, can bring up a lot of that stuff. But if it brings it up, at least you can deal with it, and I don't know, there were all old people there. I was the only person, I feel like, under 40 in that room. And, I found it very, it was a good time for me to clear my head. And I realized I've been a real asshole in league that week. And I'm like, all of that stuff came up. I was like, man, I'm mean to some 13-year-old kid in Michigan. I'm just like, I read this kid the riot act in the after game chat. I was like, what was that, dude? I let him have it. The weird thing is we had a conversation by the end of it. We'd friended each other. So like, there's a way to work it out,
Yeah.
But again, repression is not the way to deal with it. But I don't know. I think that some form of community getting together, even if it may not be explicitly religious, just some way to connect with people in a what is the word? Non-economic environment? I don't know. Something where you can, for some people it's a bar.
Yeah.
But like in some way that you can just, like, the judgment isn't there. You can just kind of like, breathe, we got a few more. Oh, geez, man. People have come in right here at the end. That's why, nobody chats at the beginning.
Was it the time change? What happened?
I don't know. I like the incrementalism T-shirt, even though I don't agree with the philosophy. You're punctuated equilibrium. You want it to happen overnight. You'll never be content. You will always continue chasing new goals and pleasures. It's a never-ending chase. It's human nature. I don't know. There's probably good ways. All right. I'm just too far behind, and Judah's got to get going.
I still got 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll hit the rest of this chat then. Gyro came in. Yeah, when two people working, and then you have an overseer or boss, and you're working efficiently and competently, and the other is slacking, you will be punished by getting more work, which should have been. That's exactly right, man. I've witnessed that happen so many times, either with me or with somebody else. It's like, oh, here's your reward, more work.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's what I do tend to hedge my.
Your work
I'm very
ethic?
good at being mediocre.
Well, and that is part of the game, because again, like, you do have to kind of like examine. Sometimes the company bottom line is really just make me more money, but then when you look at what they're telling you to do, you're like, you do the math yourself. You're like, this is not going to make them more money. What else is going on here? Mm-hmm. And so you do need to play the game. And you can't just give 100% to what people are telling you to give. You do have to play the game, because they're not giving 100% either. I'm giving 150%. No, you're not, dude. Shut up. Whatever. How different is an Indian approach to a problem from an average American approach? Now, that is an interesting question.
Ooh.
Now, you could do a whole season of TV on that one. Because there are multiple, like, let's be real. I mean, there's the token Indian approach, and there's a token American approach, but then there's more nuanced approaches within each milieu. I've met some Indians that are just masters. I mean, like, whatever their class level, just masters at bartering without being douchebags, and where they get you, almost con you into willingly part with whatever, and by the end of it, it's a great con, because you're both happy. They got more money than they wanted, and you got a pleasant experience out of it, and they made you laugh. You're like, you know what, you earned this, dude. Like, it's almost like a tip, it's the bucksheesh, right? But it's bucksheesh that wasn't like pouted to get. It was like they found a creative way to get around the event, and so I do ran into that jugaad mentality in India a lot. But again, people are people. You'll find that same thing here. You'll find certain people here that have just got the gift of the gab. Used car salesmen get a really bad rap in America for that kind of mentality. But then every now and then you'll run into one that's just like so endearing, and you're like, all right, you sold me on this. Like, you really did. Like, I needed the car, and and you got me a good one. And,
Yeah, I actually had this discussion yesterday at work. We were talking about what makes a good salesman. So some of the people, because like somebody asked me, what makes a good salesman? And I said, so there's a Romanian word, nesimtit. It's that thing we talked about with your friend. That English doesn't have a word for it. It's like where you're like, you disregard there's no English word for it, but it's like when you're awkward and you don't care about norms, like you do things like clumsily, but also, anyways, I said Nesim, you have to be Nesimtit. You have to have that, like, you don't care about norms. You're not worried about ruffling feathers or doing things, the wrong way according to society.
Man, yeah. And that's just so much more freeing, right? Like, when you're just not sitting there walking on eggshells all the time. It's like you mess something up, you're like, yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. Like, it doesn't get to your soul, You're just like, yeah, that was stupid. And, there are certain people who can do that wherever people just smile even when they mess up, You know, it's just kind of like, you know, like we played poker with our buddy Jeff. We worked with him for a while there on the man, that asshole. I think he beat me 2 out of 3 of the hands that I ended up paying like $60. I think I put into that pot. I really sweetened the pot for them, but I was like, I just could not catch a break. I wasn't playing really well either. But Jeff is the kind of guy, he'll be like, oh, man, I did so unpredictable. I lose that guy more than anyone, I think, because he'll just do stupid, crazy stuff. And then you're like, oh, he doesn't have anything. And he had pocket aces.
Wow.
Like, he had aces to begin with and didn't like give any cue that he had anything. Most people, you can kind of read something. Anyway. So, but it's Jeff. And you're just like, you got to love Jeff. It doesn't matter. you just got to love Jeff.
Jeff. My name Jeff.
My name is Jeff. Bomb Diggy Bomb Bomb says, how are you so hairy despite being so white?
Who's he talking about? I guess both of us.
Both of us. We're both pretty hairy. I don't know. I have some chest hair too. Yeah, you know, it's just a skill, I guess.
Wait, like what are white people not supposed to be hairy?
I don't know. I thought white people are hairy.
Yeah, like that's what I kind of equate.
I thought we're just hairier people, aren't we?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe more Norse people are less hairy.
Yeah,
maybe so. Maybe those kind of people are. What are we? What are you? What's your ethnic background again?
A mixture of like Spanish and Irish.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, we're all mutts. I don't really know what I am. I'm like a bit of Holland, I think.
Yeah,
and a bit of probably English, token English. I don't know. So maybe I should do 23andMe so they can clone me. You know, the Chinese are going to make clones to take us all over. They seriously are doing like human, like some of that conspiracy theory stuff is proven to be true more and more. Like,
yeah. It's scary.
That's guy. The only thing I remember from Donnie Darko is the song Mad World. Yeah, that was one of the best versions of Mad World. That little montage there.
Jules, what's it? Who sang it? Jules. I can't remember.
I don't know. Diggy Bomb has been watching Jamie's YouTube channel. Thank you. Awesome. He is a good storyteller. He has a way. I mean, he has his dad's. He's inherited that gait, that delivery, and yeah, it was real soothing. Listen to. I'm looking forward to catching up with some of that and seeing how much of it I can actually pick up and retain. Gyro was looking forward to Bharat's Chai Stand, so we talked about that this week. We got an idea about Bharat's Chai Stand, so stay tuned.
It's still live? It's still live?
No, well, I mean, it'll come back. It's gonna be like a phoenix.
Well, do you have the archives of it? Was there film?
No.
All I saw was a preview.
No, the film that we did, like, none of it quite really went in the direction that I'd envisioned. Most of it was just kind of like building up, and we were going to try to take it somewhere from there, but everyone got busy, and we never really went anywhere with it. And then I started changing some elements of the story after that. So I have a cohesive, it's probably like a 40-minute short film, I guess. It's not really a feature length.
Sounds like a good Paper Pals.
That's true. I could do that. Or I've got another idea, though, for... that is a good idea, actually. I've got another idea that's going to like lead in that direction. So don't count Bharat's Chai Stand. Bharat's Chai Stand, the Indian film version, in let's say 2030. I think that's a good one to shoot for. It's 2030. Yeah, 2030 production begins. Bharat's Chai Stand. Dude, I stand by that. When I think about that, I'm like, that's one of my favorite things I've ever written. So it is the Ford philosophy writ large. It's my belief. So it's my Akira. And truly it is a dance. Yeah. I mean, it is a Bollywood dance in a sense, just it's choreographed with action rather than dance. Yeah, that's my goal. All right. McDonald's primary goal is killing people too. That was in reference. That was in response to our military argument. Yeah. Ford for the best debutante. Dude, who are you, man? That is good. Ford for the best debutante TikTok e-boy for 2019. Make it happen, man. 2020. All right, it's coming in 2020. All right,
dude. I low key love TikTok.
Well, it's true. I mean, it is the spiritual successor to early YouTube. It's better than Vine. because you can get a little more, you can do more with it. And again, it's owned by the Chinese, so they give the people what they want, man. They give the people what they want. League of Legends is owned by China too. I mean, they're just taking over. But yeah, TikTok. I'm coming to TikTok in 2020. Let's make this happen. The surfing violence, don't count me out yet. All right, something happening this weekend. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but just stay tuned. Something happening this weekend. No one knows about it. I haven't told anybody, but it's happening, baby. 2020, we're coming back. Susan Wojcicki, just get prepared. Coming back to YouTube.
Watch your profanity.
I'm sorry, I mispronounced your name. Totally not on purpose. I got hurting while doing just 3 weeks of boxing. Weak muscles are a deterrent to enthusiasm. Yeah, I got hurt. I felt some. I'm sorry, Susan. I shouldn't have said that. I feel bad now.
No, you.
I feel
no,
bad
that was. I feel bad.
Yes, I like. Anyway, God bless you,
awesome.
Susan.
How do you pronounce her last name?
Wojcicki, I guess. Wojcicki, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. It's dude. I was being crass about it. You were just
no, I wasn't. I mispronounced it on purpose. Like I did a bad tweet at Susan this week too. It was kind of mean. Yeah.
How do you know Susan?
Since she, I don't like the direction YouTube has gone in the post. Now, whether or not, again, this is one of those things, like you said, you got really mad at your coworker. Like I got really mad at Susan, and whether or not she is the source of all that, which I don't think she is. I think honestly, she's one of those people who's got her heart in the right place. But I fundamentally disagree with like the direction she's taken YouTube. So, but that's no call for my.
Oh,
incendiary
you're
rants.
talking about the person. Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about the CEO of YouTube.
I thought you were talking about somebody in the chat.
No, I'm talking about the CEO of YouTube.
I mean, she probably is watching.
She is watching. I know you're one of the three.
She watches everyone.
Yeah. The Eye of Sauron. The Eye of Sauron. Not on YouTube. I think I got
7.
No, I got 5 on YouTube. Best tech, yeah. So TikTok coming back, baby. I got hurt while doing just 3 weeks of boxing. Yeah, I felt even just yesterday. I felt it, even my legs. Like it is a great exercise. You work out everything. So we're getting back into that. I brought my my boxing gloves over there, and yeah, excited, man. I'm excited to get into it. Maybe I can take out some of this rage, and so.
I was going to ask you. Are you going to watch? Do you care anything about Ruiz versus Joshua?
Oh yeah, I'll watch that. Definitely.
That's today, man.
Oh, it's today. No, I didn't even know. What happened with Logan Paul and KSI? Who did KSI beat him?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, good. I don't like either one of them, but you know what? Anytime a Paul brother gets a bloody lip, I'm okay. Hey, Logan, me, come on, Panama City Beach. Get the Logan Paul, the Surfing Violence Invitational. I'm not going anywhere. You can come here. We'll give you a free pontoon ride, and you can beat the shit out of me. I'll be a palooka. I'll be a palooka for you, Logan.
What's his name talked about it? Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean,
he was like blown away by like how many people tuned in.
They made good money, dude. I gotta give them credit. Like they've really played this up. I give both of them credit. They really they leveraged the competitive advantage they have
and stuff.
Yeah,
but he couldn't believe like this like legit boxer. You know, this like really skilled boxer was like he opened for them or something. You know, he did, like,
that's right. It's like someone who would kick both of their asses like in half a round. Yeah, and he was like the low card.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, that's good stuff, dude. Yeah, you gotta credit the hustle, man. I do credit the hustle.
Maybe that's what, dude. Maybe we just need to start boxing for a living.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're both got the showmanship for it, and we can take punches. Yeah, I think I'm pretty close to being there. Bomb Diggy Bombog wants you to hear this. He says, "You will know what you want if you really realize how short life is."
Yeah, I read that earlier.
What is that from?
Oh, I don't know. Well, the Joker, the Joker in Batman Returns, or not Batman Returns. What's so Heath Ledger's Joker says, what's that called? It's good. A Dark Knight. Dark Knight. He says that you truly know, like he's something like you truly know somebody right before you kill them or something like that. Like
I
that's
can't
when you
remember.
truly.
Yeah. Well, and I think that ties into our whole boxing discussion here. Like, you start to know yourself a lot better. Again, it's like me and my fantasy about Legend of Zelda. Like, oh, it's going to be like this idealized version. You see how dumb the idealized version is of winning the game. And when you get into the boxing ring and realize what the idealized version is, it hurts. And then all of a sudden, like, your fictions kind of they tend to the story about how big and bad you were, they melt away pretty quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, into boxing, I need to do some more of this. Bomb says, my final comment for today: you guys need to find something permanent, something you like to do, so that you guys stop the endless chase and the ups and downs the chase brings. More or less, all of them downs than ups. And yeah, and I think in this 3-year period, I've definitely been on the downward. Like through the wilderness, through the doldrums, and there's been a lot of talk of downs. 2020 is going to be about the ups, and for me, that permanent thing is making movies. Whether it's making
Nice.
music videos is where we're going to start because that's easier. But we've already got our first paid client for advertising, so that'll be the day job, and then the dream is making some music videos with a storytelling edge. Try to really focus on my color correction so it doesn't look like garbage. Get to the point where it's looks like it could be a movie, and with a 4K camera, that it could actually be true.
Awesome.
So I'm excited about that. I mean, the technology is in place now where, just when I started this whole journey, which is 15 years ago when I started, I wrote my first script. It's funny, Jack and from the Perfume Nationals, he was having a discussion with one of the guys on Twitter, and the other guy had mentioned Identity, the film Identity, and that was the film that started this whole weird rabbit hole for me. I saw Identity with my dad, and I was like, and the whole notion of split personality, like psychological thriller, I don't know, for whatever reason, like every debutante wannabe hack filmmaker in that time period was like, oh, check out my psychological thriller. Actually, they comment on that in Adaptation, that Nick Cage movie. He's my genre is thriller. He did one. He did the same film that I wrote. It was called The Three or something like that. Do you remember that?
The Three.
Yeah,
Yes,
The Three.
yes.
I had this psychological thriller. It was almost identical in premise. It was called Dark Night of the Soul. It was this pretentious, god-awful, pseudo-Christian like reinterpretation of The Sixth Sense and Identity. Oh my God, it was so bad. We actually tried filming it though, and at that time, cameras, the camera that people were using to do indie films, they did the Canon XL1 to do 28 Days Later, and they used the Panasonic DVX100 to do what was that movie? It was a Courtney Cox movie, which actually wasn't that bad. It was kind of a weird little, again, a psychological thriller. But they were these video cameras that could film in 24 progressive, 24p. So you have 24 frames to emulate the film look, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And those cameras cost $3,300 US. The camera I just bought, the body cost less than $1,500. It's 4 times the resolution of those cameras. It's insane, 4 times the resolution with a raw color space where you can, correct white balance and post and everything. It's great.
What camera did you got? The Blackmagic?
The Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K. And I've just, so far, even just with the little I know enough to be dangerous, I'm like, yeah, we're going places with this thing. So I'm excited.
Wow.
That's a big thing for me in 2020. Will be making movies, baby.
Well, listen, before I go, I got to go. But my brother asked me while I was out in Montana with him, he said, because we're having one of these deep, discussions talking about the stuff we've been talking about. And he said, what do you hold precious? What is precious to you? And I told him what we do every Saturday morning. Because Bomb, like nothing's permanent. Okay. But this is something that has really been something that, and I'm glad to to share the time with you and Bomb Diggity Bomb and
totally.
So like this is something that has helped me This has been my Ubik in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
and for me too. Like it was, if it weren't for Judah, we even have the Surfing Violinist podcast, because I've got a voice for this kind of thing, and people have always been telling me for 20 years, do something with your voice, and but I have my tendency to frant, and so there's very few people can handle putting up with a frant. But Judah coaxed me out of my shell with reverse redaction, and so this is the one thing that I've started in the last 10 years on the internet that I've kept up with longer than 3 months. Like every enterprise I've ever started, I've given up. I'd hit the 3 month mark and be like, I'm done with this. I just can't do it anymore. And so I think, in answer to your question, Bob Digger Bob Bob, that is something that I think, the podcast is something that we want to do, not because we're trying to compete with Joe or any of the other big podcasts, but it's more of just this cathartic thing for us.
Yeah.
And like you said, I like this last thing that Bob Digger Bob Bob says, that make movies for the love of making movies. Don't set the crazy rules and goals you do. In my opinion, that is what leads to the endless string of ups and downs. And that's true. When you set a benchmark that's impossible to live up to, like if you're doing it for some other metric, just make the thing you want to make. And I'm excited. We're already starting to do that. When Melissa took the reins on this first music video, and we're shooting Monday night, and it's going to be exciting.
I'm gonna do my Ruiz. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Says I look like Ruiz.
Now we just got to get the boxing form. Godspeed, everyone. Thanks, Bob D. Bob Mom, for the encouraging words there, and for everyone stuck through this whole thing. Until next time, keep it creative, cross-cultural, constructive, and we'll see you. Check out those shirts if you like.
Oh, yeah, there's a Frant shirt. You can get a Frant shirt.
If you're into the Ford rants. So, all right. Godspeed. Thank you all.
Bye, guys.
Gonna let this hold for like one more second, because apparently YouTube has been it like cuts me off if I click the stream too quick. So this is just outroll. All right.